And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is, and you have been hearing here on CVFM, is the recruitment drive by Cleveland Police. And I'm very pleased to say that we got the temporary Chief Constable, Ian Spittle, in the studio with me today. Ian, a warm welcome to you here at CVFM Tower. How are you?
Idrees, thank you for your invitation. I'm really well, thank you, and great to have a chance to talk to you this afternoon.
You've recently been appointed the temporary Chief Constable for Cleveland. How temporary is that?
Well, that's down to whoever the next Police and Crime Commissioner is to decide. So Barry Coppinger, who was obviously the Police and Crime Commissioner at the moment, has taken a decision after the retirement of Jackie Cheer that it would be not right for him to appoint the new Chief Constable so close to the election, that the election should take place and the new Police and Crime Commissioner has that opportunity to appoint the Chief Constable. So I'm doing this probably for at least 6 months, which I'm relishing, looking forward to that. And then I'm sure whoever's elected will advertise for a Chief Constable, and I'll have the opportunity to apply.
Sounds great. And how long have you been with the force, Ian?
So I've been with the force just over 2.5 years now.
And how are you finding it? How are you finding Cleveland Police Force?
I think I've found the last 2.5 years really challenging because I've done 26 years in my previous force, and moving big organisations is challenging in all sorts of ways. You just realise how much you know instinctively of an organisation when you've been part of it for so long. So I've had that challenge. But the thing that has really impressed me locally, and it's something that actually before I decided to apply, I did some mystery shopping of Cleveland Police. I came and walked the streets of Cleveland. I found Cleveland police officers and PCSOs and interacted with them in my jeans and a t-shirt, so they didn't know who I was, to really find out what they cared about. And that has been demonstrated to me over the last 2.5 years where I've been here. They are so passionate about being really good police officers, helping the community, and every day they save lives and they protect people from harm and lock up bad people.
And Cleveland Police had a freeze on recruitment for a number of years now, and recently, obviously the recruitment opened today at 12 o'clock, and so you're able to get that information from Cleveland Police's website. We'll give you all the details in terms of the process. But you recently had some sort of community events, and you've had opportunities where people can go and find out, what the opportunity is about. How's that been for you?
Well, they've been really, really well attended. We work really closely with the university to try and get us into a position where we can engage away from police premises with the community about recruitment. They provided space for us. We had to increase the space of that. We've had 4 really well attended events over the last week. We've had a whole range of people, about 165 people at each event, who are really interested in how they can get involved in policing, what it takes to become a police officer, and how they can apply. And we're really keen to try and help people see more and understand more about what policing's about.
And how many new recruits are you taking in this particular window?
So I've worked really hard since I landed here to get to a position where we could restart recruitment. I think it's been really difficult in the organisation because of the austerity cuts from 2010. It froze recruitment, and that means there's a bubble going through the organisation of no new recruits coming in, and it was nearly 5 years it was stopped for. So we're now, this is the 3rd round of recruitment that we've done since I was able to restart it. We'll recruit around 80 police officers this year that we're in, and then at least 60 every year for the next 3 years. So there's real opportunities, and if people are thinking they've got an interest in it, they don't have to panic and jump into this current round, because we are going to be recruiting on an ongoing basis over the next 4 or 5 years, definitely.
And you say it's been quite turbulent for the force for a number of different reasons, and with these public sector cuts and things like that, it's even more difficult in terms of keeping the officers that you have and try to reflect the community that you serve. And one of the things I would like to discuss is in terms of diversity, in terms of the makeup of the police force and how that reflects the community it serves. What sort of things have you been doing to ensure that it is the makeup of the force is more reflective of the community it serves?
I think it's a really, really important point, is that, Idrees, let's be real clear, at the moment we're not made up and truly reflective of the communities that we serve. And that's a concern for me. And actually, it's not just Cleveland Police. Across the country, people doing my job, Chief Constables, are struggling with trying to make sure that their organisations truly represent their communities. So a range of things that we've been doing. We've been doing the events down at Teesside University. We've been the adverts with yourself and trying to get different people to think about policing. Radio interviews like this. I've done a number of the local radio stations. Trying to get opportunities through our neighbourhood policing teams to engage with different parts of the community and have real frontline cops talking to people who might be interested. And also, one of the things we're trying to do is help people to understand what the process is. So the events at Teesside University were very much about helping people to think and plan how they would apply before they actually click on the link, and the sort of experience we might be looking for. We're also, and we've done this through the last 2 rounds of recruitment, we have used positive action in line with the Equality Act where we can do that, to make sure that we give appropriate recognition for people who are underrepresented. So last year on recruitment, we've done positive action to try and support BME applicants coming through the process, but also young people, because our youngest officer until this time last year was 26 years old, and I'm really concerned that we've got a gap growing between the youth who we need to engage with and the age of our officers.
Sounds good. And I suppose, to be fair, you've had almost 5 years freeze on recruitment, so you really can't diversify the force if you're not taking new people on. So it's good that you've created this opportunity where you are taking new people on, and I think it's really important when you talk about diversity, in terms of young people
Absolutely.
From different, and so in terms of gender equality as well. You want more female officers, obviously, as well.
Absolutely. I mean, at the moment, as a force, about 1.7% of our force are made up of BME officers, which is quite low because we're about 5% as a community. The positive thing was last year when we were out to advert, about 5% of our applications were from BME, members of the public who are interested in joining us. So that's really, really positive. At the moment, about 26% of our workforce are female. I'd really like to try and increase that as well at the same time, and bring in younger officers in. So last year our applications were about 50-50 for male and female coming into the organisation. So we're trying to do all sorts of different things, and because we're now recruiting consistently over the next 4 years, I'm really pushing our recruitment team and our officers who are working as part of the force to try and engage more with the community, and we're opening the door to as many people as we can.
And we will go and talk about the recruitment process as well. Obviously it's an online application, so just talk us a little bit about how people go about going through that process. Sure. And what's involved.
Sure. So firstly, I think it's really important that your listeners recognise that actually the recruitment process to become a police officer is not something that we have a lot of control about as an individual police force. So we work as part of the professional body under the College of Policing, and the College of Policing set the recruitment standards for all police officers coming into police forces, and therefore the approach that we take, the first stage, is actually an online application process, and that process is set nationally. I must say, I'm glad I didn't have to go through an online application. I'd probably have to get one of my sons to sit alongside me if I was doing that. It was pen and paper when I joined. But the sort of things we're asking people now were the same sort of things that I was asked. So there's basic personal information. There's a background of individuals, your family, your mothers, your fathers, because that's really important, because we have to do background checks just like we did when I joined. And some really simple questions to ask people why they want to become a police officer. What is it that's driving them to become a police officer? That's the first stage. The application form is online. People can come backwards and forwards into it, so you don't have to do it all in one go.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so you can save it and go back to it, so you have a bit of time to think about how you answer the questions. And then once that's submitted, that goes into a national process where they do a screening process. They're scored, so we don't do that locally. They're scored. That information then comes back to us, and then there is a process of the selection process really starts. People are then invited to come in and go through a series of testing experiences. So we put situations together under the guidance of the College of Policing, and applicants engage with members of the public under different events, lost property, those sorts of things.
Different scenarios in terms of how they would react and in terms of their capabilities.
And let's be really clear, we're not looking for cops and trained cops in that. We're just looking to see how people react, how do they interact with the members of the public that they're talking to, and they're scored, and that's the next stage of the selection process. And then there's a final interview, and that's where a mix of my officers who are trained to interview at all different ranks actually engage directly with candidates and ask them a series of questions to try and boil us down to the really high quality people that we're looking at bringing in.
And you're looking to recruit around about 80, did you say?
About 80 through this year, and then 60 a year for the next 3 or 4 years beyond that, at least.
Okay, and in terms of the number of applications you're taking, is that a little ceiling in terms of how many you'll take before you'll close the application process?
So what we know is we know that if we take around 400 applications at this stage, we will end up at the end of that with about the number of police officers that we need. When I applied to join 30 years ago, I put my application form in. I then waited 8-9 months for the next phase because they were waiting to store them up. I then got interviewed and offered a job, and then I had to wait lots and lots of time before I actually came in. Whereas what we're trying to do now is do it in blocks, so we've got quite a shorter process as we can, and that people start as soon after we've said we would like you to come as possible, because that helps people in planning their lives. So we'll take about 400 applications. Last time we did it, it took about a week, 10 days to fill those up. The first time we did it, because it was the first time we recruited in 5 years, that was much quicker. It was about half the time. And we'll deal with that 400. We'll take them through the process, and probably in about 5 or 6 months' time, we'll open up again and we'll take another 400 applications.
And those that have been taken on, they are on a 2-year probation period?
Yeah, one of the fantastic things about policing is that everybody who's a police officer has had to learn the job from the grassroots and come through
so
it.
You have to take
an apprenticeship.
Particular route.
Yeah, it's like an apprenticeship, and I think that is what gives us huge value up through the organisation. So in those 2 years, you are helped to learn how to do the job effectively, but you're given lots and lots of experiences doing different things across the police force area, interacting with lots of different people. Yes, we're testing to make sure you really are the right person to be a substantive police officer beyond the 2 years and into hopefully 35 years of policing at least. But also it gives you a chance to see different elements of policing, because policing isn't just about wearing a tall hat or the bowler hat for ladies and the yellow coat and walking the streets. There are so many exciting things that people's careers can follow.
And talking about careers, you mentioned that you've been 30 years.
Yeah.
So how did you when you left college or school or whatever, were you thinking about going to the police force? How did you become a police officer? What was your journey like?
Well, I think everybody's got a different journey into it. For me, I had some particular challenges very young as a child. I saw some things that probably I wouldn't want children to see. I experienced things. In my teenage years at school in Leeds, one specific thing that really drove me eventually to policing was an assault that I saw take place. And as a teenager, I felt powerless to intervene or do anything. And over the next few weeks from that led me to a position where I decided whatever I did in my life, I wanted to do things that helped people, that protected people, and stopped bullies and stopped people being taken advantage of. That eventually led me, over a very short period of time, to decide I wanted to become a cop. And I'm sorry to West Yorkshire Police, North Yorkshire Police, Humberside, because I started pestering them at 16 and I was writing week in, week out to try and get them to join. Eventually, at 19 years of age, North Yorkshire Police accepted me as a constable, and here I am nearly 30 years later, and I love policing as much today as I did the day I joined. The values and the thing that drove me to join is still as strong. In fact, it's probably stronger in me now because I've seen more of where we need to be and what we need to do.
Do you get many applications from people who are in their late teens, or is it more people that are in sort of later in life and people that might have had a different career and going into the force?
Yeah, we tend to get a really broad mix. Once upon a time, we had police cadets who were brought in.
So that was like a sort of feeder
on the way through. So they would just start at 16. They sort of stopped just before I joined in 1986. and they would come through. We get a really broad range. I mean, the last intake that we had, ages ranged from late teens through into the 40s, and a whole range of backgrounds. People who'd come from school with A-levels or other qualifications, people who'd come with degrees, through to people who've been managers in a betting shop, people who've been working in schools, so a whole range of things.
And what's your advice for people who are thinking about it? Maybe think, I've got any family members who... Because sometimes, you have this tradition of people that are served in the forces or served in police. Do you have any family members yourself? It's like, I want to be my uncle or whatever who's in CID.
Sure.
Was there anything like that in your...
So the time I applied to become a police officer, I didn't think any of my family had been involved in policing. And then I had about 5 years service when my grandfather passed away, and I was helping my grandmother sort out his personal effects, and I came across his war medals, but there was a medal in the box that I recognised not as a war medal but as a medal for a special constable. So I asked my grandmother about that. So this is a special constable's medal. Was my grandfather a special constable? And she said no, but her father was. So my great grandfather had been a special constable. It was his long service medal for being a special constable, and as it happened, he'd been a special constable at the police station where I'd first worked as a police constable. And nobody had thought to tell me that in the family, so just spookily, my grandfather had been there before me.
Interesting. Listen, we're going to carry on having a little conversation in relation to how the police interacts with communities and how people get involved. Maybe if they don't want to apply to become a police officer now, there's opportunities for special constables as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's great.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after with some more discussion. Mark Morrison. We get an opportunity to listen to Mark later on, but at the moment we do have our temporary Chief Constable from Cleveland Police, Ian Spittle, in the studio with us, talking about the new recruitment that has gone live today at cleveland.police.uk/careers. If you do want any further information, do check out our website as well. There's a link on there as well. And Ian, we had a chat about the recruitment process. Hopefully, do you know how many people have visited the website so far? What sort of early indications do you have? Is there a good interest and good indication in people being interested in this opportunity?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, between us going live and 2 o'clock, over 5,000 people have clicked onto our careers page, and specifically for the police officer recruitment, about 3,500 people have visited that, and we've had just over 500 visit our special constable application page as well.
So if people are interested, they need to go and check that out. And as I said, there is a limited opportunity in terms of the applications you'll be taking. First 400.
Yeah, that's right. So, but again, people don't need to panic about that. So it's 400 this time. We're going to be going back out later this year, and then continue over the coming years.
So there's plenty of windows of opportunity for people. But if people want any further information, you've had previously events where people can go and ask serving officers questions, what it's like, get a better understanding. But there's also another route into policing as well, isn't it? Through the specials.
That's right.
Will you be taking any recruits as part of this recruitment campaign? Are you looking to recruit special police officers as well? Yeah,
we are. We're going to open our special constable recruitment very soon after we finish the substantive police officer, paid police officer roles, and we'll be putting that advert out very soon. And it's a really great opportunity. Anybody we're just smiling in here. I think it's the ice cream van outside. So I think special constabulary gives people a really fantastic opportunity. Who if they think they'd like to be a police officer, but maybe don't feel it's the right time for them to leave the career that they're doing, or they're a bit anxious about it, come and speak to us. Could become a volunteer police officer. And we give lots of training. We have to train people almost to the same standard as our substantive recruits. Have a go at it as a volunteer. We have some special constables who come in, do 12 months, 18 months, 2 years as a special constable, then become a regular. And equally, I've got a special constable who I'm meeting in later this month, who's got over 40 years service as a special constable, as a volunteer. So you don't have to come as a paid officer if you don't want to.
So in terms of training and everything like that's all provided before you go out on the beat, as it were. And What sort of commitment is there in terms of, number of hours?
So we usually end up having to say people, please don't come out as much, because we've got responsibility for their safety and their well-being. So if they're working full-time and then doing 12 or 14 hours a week for us, so we're usually holding people back. We look for a minimum of about 4 hours a week if we can from people, but we're really flexible with that, because sometimes people work shifts, working patterns, family, they can't fit all of that in. But we give all the training, we give the equipment, and it's a great way to come in and engage with policing and add something back to your community as well.
And what's the process for that? Is it similar to...
It's a similar process. It's an online application process. It is quite structured, again, by the College of Policing, because as a member of the public, you wouldn't naturally know whether you're speaking to a paid police officer or a special constable. So there's a lot of training. It's shortened down, and we do training ongoing with them as volunteers as well.
Okay, and just before the break we talked a little bit about how the police interacts with communities and the whole concept of neighbourhood policing. I mean, it's been called different things over the years, but Cleveland Police still does have, and I know the PCC still has, a firm commitment to having neighbourhood policing in Cleveland. I know some forces are changing away from that. What's your commitment to that, and what's your thought in terms of how police officers interact with local communities?
So I am absolutely determined and fixed on my view that neighbourhood policing and that face-to-face engagement with communities, with individuals in communities, is absolutely essential to British policing. And I think it's disappointing that in some parts of the country, I think chiefs are moving away from neighbourhood policing, lots of it driven by austerity. Well, we've built a plan here that means we can maintain neighbourhood policing, strengthen it, and focus it in the areas where there is the most need in the community. We do have areas of the community that I'm responsible for policing that have particularly difficult antisocial behaviour, crime problems. We want to get better working with those communities and with local authorities and other partners to really help improve people's lives in those areas. Thankfully, we've also got large areas of the force where there's very little crime, there's very little antisocial behaviour. Well, we're going to keep neighbourhood police in there as well, but it won't be quite as intense as we're going to put in some of the more difficult areas.
So you're going to tailor what's the offer according to the need?
That's right.
Okay. And, should we have a little chat about how you interact with communities in terms of independent advisory groups as well? Because I've got someone on the line, actually, that is involved with the IAG. Hello, CBFM.
Hello.
Is that Yasmin?
Hi, yes it is.
You've got Ian Spittle in the studio with me as well. Hi.
Evening, Yasmin.
Evening, Ian.
Okay, just briefly, I think you called us at the right time. We're just going to talk a little bit about the IAGs, the Cleveland Police's Independent Advisory Group. I believe you are a member of the Strategic Independent Advisory Group and also the District IAG in Hartlepool. Just tell us a little bit about what the IAGs do.
I think the IAGs really, they're one of the main purposes for the IAG, so that the community can have a forum where they can raise their concerns, where they can become involved, where the police can directly speak to the communities and see what the priorities are for them in local district areas. For example, they've worked really well in the past about identifying potential hotspots where tension perhaps in the community has been particularly high. And, working closely with the Cleveland Police, the Independent Advisory Group has been able to look at police response locally. It's also been involved in recent recruitment drives, making sure that the wider community gets the information that's available around recruitment and the roles themselves. It's been quite instrumental in engaging with the communities in times where there's been tensions around the world and they've affected local communities, local individuals. It's been quite instrumental in that. So over a number of years, the Independent Advisory Group has really been in the heart of community policing and reaching out to those groups that are traditionally hard to reach and in local areas where there's local issues that need to be addressed, and working alongside the police. There's been a number of initiatives and a number of outcomes where the independent advisory groups have really been quite instrumental in helping resolve community issues.
Do you need any special training, Ian, to become a member of the advisory group, or how does it work? If people are interested in terms of supporting this, that sounds like it's a valuable resource for yourself.
I must say, and Yasmin, thank you for that really great explanation of what the role of the IAG is. It is a fantastic asset to us in policing. I think locally, and you know my views on this, Yasmin, we want to put more time and effort into developing our IAG, because I need more people from the community to help us understand what is it really like to live across Cleveland, what is it like in some of those diverse groups that we've got to actually experience living here, so that I can make sure we're shaping policing to best protect people from harm. Do people need training? People need to understand their communities. People need to be feeling able to come forward and represent their communities and engage in it. So is there specific training? No, but we really help people. And I know Yasmin and other people across the force area who are involved in the IAGs are really supportive of new people coming. We had a meeting last night where there were some people attended for the first time, and they were made to feel really included, I think, was the feedback I got.
Yasmin, what's your message?
I think definitely there's certainly a willingness to engage with those groups who don't ordinarily come forward. One of the key focuses for the chairs of the independent advisory groups locally and I know strategically have always been to improve that membership. I quite agree. There's nothing that can train you, and I don't think people from the community necessarily need that training, because they're the ones that know what the local issues are, that know what the needs and the priorities are of their particular group. So for that, I don't think any formal training will give you that insight. You just need to be part of that community and be hoping to make some changes within that community. But hey, it's all about developing independent advisory groups, and it's all about moving forward. And there's always scope to mentor and provide training to those members who feel that they might need that, just to get them involved and make them understand what those meetings are about. But I think the best outcomes have always been from those members of the community who are in touch with their community, who can speak on behalf of their community, because those communities have been affected by certain issues, whether it's hate crime, whether it's been particular far-right demonstrations and particular tensions, or just to be aware of where to go should there be an issue locally, and how that all kind of fits in across the whole of the Cleveland Police Force area.
Ian, I believe you've got 4 district areas, and you've got an independent advisory group for each area, so people who live in Hartlepool, Middlesbrough, Redcar, Stockton, so they can go to their local IAG, which meets regularly.
That's right, and I think we really want to strengthen all of the IAGs across the force area. I know each of the chairs of those groups are really committed to doing that. I was having a conversation last night at the strategic IAG, and I've spoken this morning with Barry Coppinger as the PCC to make sure that we are giving that support and actually really helping develop the IAGs, providing support to actually make the IAGs run, because we don't chair them, the police don't chair them. This is about the community helping us to be better and helping us to have access to members of the community to help us shape our services.
Okay, Yasmin, thank you for your contribution there. I know Ian you have another commitment as well. You're going to have to go very soon, but we will share that. We will share the information about the IAGs on our Facebook page in a moment as well, so people are interested and can always get in touch with the radio station as well, because we're looking to host one of the future IAG meetings here as well.
Absolutely.
For the Middlesbrough district,
brilliant,
hopefully, and trying to get more of our community members, because we are looking for more diverse membership in terms of communities of different communities of interest, maybe transgender community.
Absolutely.
We've got some representatives, so it's really about every different community having the stake in this and bringing something to the table.
I think historically policing used to say we've got communities that are hard to reach. I think that's rubbish. I think it was us who were hard to reach. So I see the IAG as a fantastic means of us trying to make ourselves more accessible. Not just people who need us because something's happened, whether it's crime or social behaviour, but people who've got a genuine interest to help their police force be better at serving and looking after them. I think it's been us that's hard to reach, and I'm really determined that we take steps here over the coming months to strengthen our connections with the IAGs.
and also strengthen our connection with the communities and hopefully get more applications from our diverse communities out there. As Ian mentioned earlier on, the applications have gone live today. They've had lots of interest. Hopefully, if you are interested, and I'm sure you will be, fantastic opportunity to develop a long career, as Ian has shared his story. And he was quite young when he joined, and if you are just left university and you think I'm not sure what to do, and go and check it out. And if you want any further information, I'm sure there's an opportunity to obtain.
So there's the website. We've got police officers and PCSOs out on patrol. Actually, go and talk to them.
They're probably the most valuable source of information, because if you see an officer on your patch, just go and have a chat with them, speak to them, get that information firsthand.
Absolutely.
Ian, it's been a pleasure to have you in the studio today. Hopefully it won't be your last visit to us. Maybe once the recruitment process is over, we'll have another opportunity to see and dissect how things have gone, and maybe encourage, because as you said, I'm pleased to hear that there will be more intakes next year and the year after as well, after quite a long freeze in terms of recruitment. So we'll hopefully have you back.
Idrees, that would be great. I've really enjoyed being here this afternoon. Let's come back again. Maybe bring one of the new recruits along as well, and we can introduce those to some of your listeners. That'd be great. Thank you.
That'll be great. I'm not sure if Yasmin's still. Are you still there, Yasmin?
I am, yeah.
Okay, sorry, we thought you'd gone there, but thank you for your contribution as well, and hopefully we'll have a good response from our listeners as well in terms of taking up this opportunity.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks, Yasmin.
Take care, bye-bye. So that was Yasmin, and also here Ian Spittle, who is the Temporary Chief Constable from Cleveland Police, in the studio with me. We're going to go to a track, but I'll be back right after this.